There are moments in life when the air feels heavy, when something within whispers that your path is not ordinary. To be called chosen is not a crown for pride, but a weight placed upon your shoulders. It is a demand for discipline, for vigilance, and for inner mastery. Many desire recognition, but few understand the price that recognition carries. In the ancient halls of Shaolin, we are taught that true power is not the ability to command others, but the ability to command oneself. A warrior who conquers nations but loses mastery over his anger, his desire, or his fear is no warrior at all. Discipline is the key that unlocks freedom. Without it, the chosen one becomes a prisoner to impulses, a servant to fleeting emotions. In this teaching, you will walk with me through principles rarely spoken of outside temple walls. You will learn why silence can be sharper than a sword, why breath is not just air but a bridge between body and spirit, and why restraint demands more courage than action. I will share with you lessons that do not simply build strength but preserve life itself. Stay with me until the end, for each step is a piece of a larger path, a path that reveals how the chosen endure trials, carry responsibility, and awaken to their true calling. This is not a teaching of comfort, it is a teaching of awakening, and awakening always comes with weight. Welcome to Shaolin Soulfire. If the wisdom here resonates with you, if you seek discipline over distraction and mastery over weakness, then I invite you to subscribe and walk this path with us. The journey begins now. There is a strange truth hidden in the human heart. The very things we believe make us free often bind us the most. A man who follows every craving believes he is living without limits, yet slowly he becomes chained by his own desires. The sweet taste of indulgence turns bitter when it rules the mind. In the Shaolin tradition, discipline is not seen as a prison. It is the key that unlocks real freedom. A monk rises before the sun, not because he loves to suffer, but because he knows that mastery begins before the world awakens. Each strike of the staff, each hour of meditation, each controlled breath, these are not punishments, they are acts of liberation. They cut through laziness, through distraction, through fear. I once watched a brother in the temple struggle to hold a single posture. His legs trembled, sweat poured down, and yet he refused to yield. Later he said, "For the first time I realized my body is not my enemy, my weakness is." That is the essence of discipline. It reveals the enemy within and teaches us to overcome it. The chosen must walk this same path. Without control over habits, emotions, and desires, life becomes a cycle of reaction. Anger dictates words. Desire dictates choices. Fear dictates silence. A person without discipline is like a leaf carried by the wind, never knowing where it will land. But with discipline, the chosen one becomes unshakable. Habits are trained to serve. Emotions are tempered like steel. Desires are brought under command. In this way, the chains of impulse fall away, and what remains is freedom, not the shallow freedom of indulgence, but the deep freedom of mastery. There is nothing more constant than the breath, and yet nothing more often forgotten. From the first cry at birth to the final sigh at death, each life is carried on a river of air. Still, most people pass through their days without ever touching the depth of a single breath. In the Shaolin path, breathing is not a background act, it is a sacred practice. A master once said, "To control the breath is to control the mind. To lose the breath is to lose yourself." Each inhale draws in strength. Each exhale releases burden. When done with awareness, the breath becomes a reminder that life itself is happening now, not yesterday, not tomorrow. Consider the warrior who enters battle. If his breath is shallow, his mind will scatter like dust in the wind. But if his breath is deep and steady, his spirit becomes unshakable. In this way, the rhythm of breathing shapes the rhythm of living. Mindfulness in every breath is more than calmness, it is discipline. It teaches the chosen one to pause before reacting, to find clarity before speaking, to anchor in presence before being swept away by fear or desire. Through the breath, one discovers that mastery does not begin with grand victories, but with a quiet inhale and a steady exhale. Unconscious living wastes the gift of time, for the days blur and vanish without meaning. Conscious breathing restores the sharpness of life, like a sword polished after long neglect. Each mindful breath whispers, "You are alive, you are aware, you are here," and when the chosen one learns to carry this awareness into every moment, even the ordinary act of breathing becomes a path to freedom, clarity, and inner strength. Every action begins first as a thought, just as every tree begins first as a seed. What is planted in the mind eventually takes root in life. This is why the old masters treated thoughts as sacred energy, not to be wasted or neglected. To leave the garden of the mind unguarded is to allow weeds to grow until they choke out all that is good. Shaolin monks often compared unguarded thoughts to chains. A single link may seem harmless, but link by link, they bind the spirit. A thought of anger, if repeated, hardens into resentment. A thought of desire, if indulged, hardens into addiction. Slowly, a person becomes a prisoner not of the world, but of their own mind. The discipline of guarding thoughts does not mean forcefully pushing them away. To fight against the mind is to create more struggle. Instead, the practice is to observe, as if standing by a river and watching leaves drift past. Thoughts will arise, some heavy, some light, some filled with shadow, others with light. The chosen one learns not to cling, not to grasp, but simply to see and let them pass. One story tells of a monk who carried water every morning from the river to the temple. One day, his jar cracked, and water leaked along the path. At first he grew angry at the loss, until he noticed flowers blooming where the drops had fallen. So too with thoughts, not every passing thought must be judged or feared. Some may leave behind beauty even if they fade. Guarding the mind is not about perfection but awareness. In awareness, harmful thoughts lose their power. In awareness, nourishing thoughts are strengthened, and in this vigilance, the chosen one protects destiny itself. There is a saying in the old temples, "An arrow once loosed cannot return, and a word once spoken cannot be taken back." Words may seem light, as though they vanish with the breath, yet their weight lingers long after the sound is gone. They have the power to wound deeper than any blade, or to heal with more strength than any medicine. Careless words scatter like sparks, small and unnoticed, until they set fire to an entire forest of trust. A moment of anger may pass, but the words born from it can remain in another's heart for years. In this way, speech is never casual. It shapes relationships, bends destinies, and echoes in the silence of memory. The chosen are taught that to speak is to wield a tool sacred and dangerous. In Shaolin practice, long periods of silence train the tongue to become precise. Silence sharpens awareness, and from awareness comes careful speech. When words are finally spoken, they are measured, balanced, and aligned with truth. Such words do not fall to the ground wasted, they land with purpose. One master told a young disciple, "Before speaking, let the words pass through 3 gates. Are they true? Are they necessary? Are they kind?" This simple teaching becomes a shield against recklessness and a compass toward wisdom. To carry speech as a sacred tool requires discipline, for emotions often rush faster than reflection. Yet when the chosen learn to pause, to breathe, and then to speak, their words become medicine for those who hear them. Each syllable is infused with clarity and intent. Thus, words are never light. They are threads woven into destiny. To master speech is to honor life itself, for through words, the soul either builds or destroys. Silence is often mistaken for weakness, yet in the Shaolin way, it is regarded as one of the highest forms of strength. Noise surrounds the world, words, opinions, endless sounds that demand attention, but silence cuts through the chaos like a clear blade, creating space where wisdom can breathe. The masters teach that silence is not emptiness, it is fullness. In silence, the heart steadies and the mind begins to hear what is usually hidden. A whisper of God, the quiet guidance of the spirit, the subtle voice of conscience, all of these are drowned out when one is consumed by constant speaking. To sit in silence is to step into a sacred conversation with the divine. There's an old teaching of a monk who trained for years in martial practice, yet his master told him, "Your sword is sharp, but your silence is dull." Only when the monk learned to sit in stillness, resisting the urge to fill the air with words, did he begin to discover true mastery. For silence refines more than speech, it refines the soul. The chosen must understand that silence is not merely the absence of words, it is an act of power, a deliberate choice. To remain silent when anger provokes is strength, to withhold words when they would wound is wisdom, and to rest in silence when the world demands noise is courage. Through silence, impulses are tempered, thoughts are clarified, and the spirit grows unshakable. It is in silence that one learns patience, and it is from silence that words, when finally spoken, carry weight and truth. Thus, silence becomes not a retreat, but a weapon of light, sharp, disciplined, and filled with hidden strength. Balance is the quiet thread that holds all of life together. In Shaolin teaching, harmony is not a luxury but a necessity. Body, mind, and spirit are three pillars. If even one is neglected, the structure cannot stand. To strengthen one while ignoring the others is to build a house on uneven ground. It will always lean, and in time it will fall. The body requires discipline, movement, and care. Without health, even the highest dreams remain trapped in weakness. Yet the body alone cannot carry the path. A sharpened sword in the hands of an untrained mind becomes a danger, not a blessing. This is why the mind must also be disciplined, steady as a mountain, clear as a river. A restless mind exhausts the body, and both suffer. But even body and mind together remain incomplete without the spirit. The spirit is the flame that gives meaning to strength and clarity. Without it, achievements turn hollow and discipline becomes lifeless routine. Spirit gives direction, reminding the chosen that the purpose of mastery is not power for its own sake, but service, wisdom, and light. One story tells of a warrior who trained day and night in combat until his body was fierce, but his mind became proud and his spirit darkened. When the time of trial came, he collapsed under the weight of his own imbalance. The lesson was clear. Excess is as dangerous as neglect. To live with balance is to walk the middle path, not too rigid, not too indulgent, but steady, harmonious, and whole. The chosen understand that imbalance leads to downfall, while balance creates a foundation unshakable by storms. In balance, body, mind, and spirit move as one, and life itself flows with strength and grace. There is a fire in every human heart, a force that urges to act, to respond, to prove strength in the heat of the moment. Yet the Shaolin path teaches that true mastery does not reveal itself in striking first, but in holding the strike until the right moment or never striking at all. Restraint is not weakness, it is courage refined into patience. A tale is told of a monk challenged by a warrior from another land. The warrior shouted, insulted, even spat at him, demanding combat. The monk stood still, his gaze calm, his hands steady. Hours passed, and finally the warrior collapsed from his own anger, defeated without a single blow exchanged. When asked why he did not fight, the monk replied, "If I accept his rage, then I carry his poison. If I refuse, the poison stays with him." This is the courage of restraint. It is far easier to swing the sword than to sheath it. Action offers release, but patience demands strength of a deeper kind. To resist the urge to react instantly requires mastery over one's emotions, a clarity of mind, and a trust in divine timing. For the chosen, restraint becomes a weapon sharper than any blade, for it cuts away impulse and preserves wisdom. The courage of restraint does not mean passivity. It means choosing the higher ground, waiting until action serves truth rather than ego. It means trusting that not every battle deserves your strength, and not every provocation deserves your response. Those who walk this path discover that timing itself is sacred. What is done too soon can fail. What is done too late can decay. But what is done at the right moment carries the force of heaven. This is why restraint is the mark of true mastery. Each evening, as the sun dips below the mountains, the Shaolin masters retreat not only to rest their bodies, but to meet themselves in stillness. They sit quietly, facing the mirror within, asking questions that cannot be ignored. Every day offers a chance to confront one's own mind, to witness both strength and weakness without judgment. The chosen must cultivate this practice. Did I act with discipline, or did I give in to temptation? Did I guard my words, or did I speak carelessly and leave echoes of harm behind? Did I honor silence, or did I fill the air with unnecessary noise? These questions are not meant to punish, but to illuminate. They reveal patterns hidden beneath routine and reveal where the soul has strayed from its path. There is an old story of a monk who, after years of training, believed himself disciplined. Yet one evening, he realized that in moments of irritation, he had spoken sharply to a fellow student. That small lapse, unnoticed by others, weighed heavily in the mirror of his mind. From that moment, he learned that mastery is not measured by public deeds alone, but by private vigilance, the quiet attention paid to one's own choices and impulses. Self-examination is both discipline and freedom. Without it, life becomes a series of reactions, drifting from one day to the next without direction. With it, each action, each word, each breath is illuminated, and the chosen begins to align body, mind, and spirit. This daily reflection strengthens the inner compass, reminding the chosen of responsibility and purpose. It is through this mirror within that the path becomes clear, and through the courage to face oneself that mastery is truly achieved. The practice of self-examination transforms ordinary life into a continuous journey of awareness and growth. To be chosen is to carry a weight that few can understand, a weight that is both burden and blessing. The path stretches narrow and steep, lined with trials that test the body, challenge the mind, and awaken the spirit. It is not a road of comfort or applause, yet it is illuminated with a quiet, enduring light that guides those who persist. In Shaolin wisdom, mastery is never granted through ease. It is forged in struggle, the struggle to rise before dawn, to temper desire, to withstand fear, and to refine the self when no one watches. Every challenge, every hardship is a teacher cloaked in difficulty. Those who shy away from it may gain fleeting peace, but they forfeit the deeper power that lies hidden beyond endurance. A story is told of a young disciple who longed to be strong like the masters he revered. He trained without rest, pushing past pain, yet he despaired when results seemed slow. One evening, his master placed a single stone in his hand and said, "Lift this stone each day and do not let your mind wander." Strength is not in the lifting alone, but in the patience to return and lift again. Over time, the young disciple realized that the path itself, not the momentary triumph, had transformed him. His body grew, yes, but his spirit grew stronger still, resilient, disciplined, and unwavering. Those who endure the path of the chosen discover strength that surpasses ordinary measure. It is a strength not flaunted in victory, but quietly held in every choice, every breath, and every act of restraint. To be chosen is to embrace both burden and blessing, knowing that the light ahead is earned through the trials behind. In this duality, mastery reveals its true nature, struggle and growth, discipline and freedom, shadow and illumination, inseparable on the path of the chosen. The path of the chosen is not one of ease, but of awakening. True privilege lies not in recognition or praise, but in the responsibility to master oneself, to guard each thought, to breathe with awareness, to honor silence, and to live in balance. Every small act of discipline, every moment of restraint, shapes the life we are called to lead. God's chosen ones are not meant for comfort. They are called to mastery. A mastery that transforms weakness into strength, chaos into clarity, and ordinary moments into acts of purpose. The soul shines brightest when it is honed through patience, courage, and awareness, reflecting the divine light within. Take these lessons into your daily life. Begin with simple acts. Observe your breath, watch your thoughts, speak with care, and embrace silence. Let balance guide your choices, and let restraint temper your actions. In doing so, you step fully into the path of the chosen, awakening to the strength that lies within you. If this teaching resonates, if you seek wisdom, discipline, and inner power, join our journey. Subscribe to Shaolin Soulfire and walk the path of mastery with us. Peace, clarity, and strength are not distant ideals. They are cultivated one mindful step at a time.